Hello, people. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to this live stream on the 23rd of August in 2025. It's a week before the Zandvoort Grand Prix. So, yes, turn the sound off of my own stream. And lower this so I can read the chat. Oh, this always happens. Hello, Henk. Hello, Tom Veer. Hello, Live My Life. Hello, Lonely Cyclist. How are we all doing? I'm pumped up for the Dutch Grand Prix. Because I'll be going there Saturday, Sunday, because Friday after work. Looking forward to it. But tonight's topic is the possible hiring of Sergio Perez and Valterii Bottas for the Cadillac F1 team. So, because it's more than rumored now. It's more than rumored now. Even the race is talking about it, and yeah, it started with an Hungarian page that said that Bottas was hired, and I didn't believe them because I've been convinced that it would be Joe and Perez for the money. But yeah, that wasn't the case. Or well, we won't know until it's 100% confirmed. But these big sites, they're usually right, because like they won't post it unless they're like 99% sure. Hey, Samantha. Yeah, it is basically confirmed, Tanveer. You're right. So yeah, I just wanted to have a live stream and have a chat about it. What the pros are of these particular drivers and what the cons are of these particular drivers. And somebody described having those two in the same team as a proxy Max Verstappen Lewis Hamilton war, because Lewis Hamilton once said that Max Verstappen didn't have very good teammates. So if Perez wipes the floor with Bottas, then that can be debunked. Hey, Gentiles, I forgot to text you, mate, but I'm glad you're here. You've got notifications on. Good man. Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of a proxy war on who's better, and then yeah, I'll definitely be one of those people that would use it in an argument with Team LH. Live My Life says 2 experienced drivers earn their own money by not putting the car into the wall. Well, I've seen plenty of crashes with Bottas and Perez, to be honest. Perez a little bit more, especially with teammates. But it's a bit of a myth to think that because they're experienced that they won't crash, because yeah, if the car is awful and these guys push a little bit too hard, then that'll happen. Plus that these cars are very weird to drive. the 2026 cars with what I've heard, a lot of torque coming out of the corners, and because they have energy uh, deployed almost for a full lap. This is what Drogovic said after testing the car on sim, that that he was able to gain speed in a corner because of the battery power. Yeah, the Lonely Cyclist says, if Bottas indeed goes to Cadillac, he will start his stint there with a grid drop. He still has, according to some media outlets, 5 places for causing a collision with K-Mag in Abu Dhabi last year. Yeah. And Tanvir says, I mean, those two drivers are very experienced and they will sure steer the car development in the right direction. Yeah, well, I want to talk about this later on as well. But Bottas joined Alfa Romeo and they scored like 45 points or 50 points. And then Bottas started helping with the development of the car and they scored 15 points. And then the year after, they scored 4 points and they were scored by Guan Yu Zhou. So, that whole steering a car in direction with development, I'm not seeing it. And Sergio Perez had a lot of trouble setting up his own car with the small operating window. So, yeah. Hey, Christina. She says, the most serious question is, if Bottas leaves Mercedes, will we see the return of Valtteri's infamous calendar for Secret Santa? Yeah. Yeah. For me personally, that joke wore out very quickly. It felt a little bit forced. I feel a lot of the jokes around Valtteri Bottas are a little bit. He's trying a little too hard to be that guy, So, yeah. Okay, I think we have enough people in. Hank says steering development is to made possible by the team. That's unfortunate. I'm not sure what Hank means by this. Are you saying that if a team is open for input from the drivers, then the development will go in a certain direction? Or are you saying that if a team struggles because they don't have the right people, no amount of direction from a driver is going to make that car fast? I'm leaning more towards the last thing I said, that if a team is crap, then yeah, the best thing for a driver to do is make the best out of it and point out what's wrong with the car, and that's it. Christina says, come on, Valtteri's pure vibe. Hey, people have different opinions. Like, maybe it's still, a little bit of yeah, he was at Mercedes in those years when things were toxic between Mercedes and Red Bull. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit negative about him. Or, yeah, I don't know. I hated seeing him like half depressed in 2021, with bad results and whatever. So um, when he left Mercedes and he went to um, Alfa Romeo, he all of a sudden became a much happier person, and I did like that. And Tamper says, I mean, if team listens to both the drivers, maybe it will be faster, at least not right like Red Bull did. And Gentile says, any driver at Mercedes seems boring and overly PR trained. I liked him a lot better when he left. Yeah, I feel the same way about Bottas. Hank says, yes, if the input from the driver can't be translated into development due to translation issues. Right. Uh, Cyclist says, two drivers that are not used to being listened to will be interesting. Yeah, they're both the wingman, aren't they? So, yeah. Okay, let's start with the pros of both drivers. Let's start with Sergio Perez. The biggest pro of having Sergio Perez in your team is are his big sponsors. Um, what do you call him? Slim, something Slim. Um, is pouring money into his career, and Nestle, and God, Perez is so popular in Mexico and the rest of South America. Um, no, North America. Uh, that he brings a lot of um, positive influxes financially with his hiring. I remember that Red Bull didn't want to let him go because they were selling so much Red Bull merch with the number 11 on it in Mexico and big parts of the States, because there's a lot of Hispanics um, in the States. Like in Miami, Sergio Perez is very popular at the Miami race. So yeah, it's a very smart move, and especially if they want to sell cars um, to these people, then it's handy to have him there. Um, and this is exactly what they need as well. It's a team building up. Um, although GM is very wealthy, to get all the foundations organized properly, that's gonna take a lot of money, and uh, yeah, it's made easier by the money that Checo Perez brings in. Um, the second pro of having Sergio Perez is that he's experienced. He joined the grid in 2012, driving for Sauber. That was 1 year, and then McLaren wanted him, but they only kept him for 2013. He was replaced by Kevin Magnussen. Sergio Perez joined Force India and stayed there for 6 years when Force India became Racing Point, and then he was kicked out just before it became Aston Martin in favor of Sebastian Vettel. This is interesting. Max wanted Nico Hulkenberg as his teammate when they decided not to go through with Alex Albon. And he nearly got his wish. And then Checo Perez won the Sakir Grand Prix, the weird race where George Russell should have won. But he wasn't allowed to win because it would look bad on Sir Lewis Hamilton. So Red Bull, yeah, they saw that Checo was a race winner, and obviously Christian Horner knew the financial potential of Checo Perez, and he hired him. And if you look at the results, he had 5 more wins in Red Bull against Max Verstappen. He had a bunch of podiums. He finished a P3 in the standings 1 year, and in 2023 he was the first driver to be P2 in the standings to make it a 1-2 for Red Bull. Um, they won 6 constructors, but only one time it was a proper 1-2 for the Red Bull drivers. So yeah, all in all, that was a good job that he did. And with Perez's experience, all those years, he's seen the highs. He's seen how a very professional, tight team needs to be run. So I think in that sense, he can help Cadillac iron out some small issues, like practical issues, um, with meetings and whatever. Anything practical, he can say, "Hey, at Red Bull we used to do it this and this way, and it went quicker." But he also had a lot of lows, um, like Force India went bankrupt, and they always had to overperform in poor equipment, and yeah, it was mentally very hard on him to be in that car in 2024 and in 2023. The media trying to push him out of that seat, and not feeling the backing of everybody at the Red Bull team. So yeah, he knows what it's like to struggle as well, and it's more than likely that Cadillac is going to struggle as well in the period. Especially the first 2 years they're going to be dead last. You know, they're going to have to work hard to get the 107% qualifying. So yeah, those are pretty much the pros of Sergio Perez. Let me go to the chat because I saw a lot of movement. Christina says, "So who will be the wingman now?" I think Bottas. And Taver says, "Yeah, they were both the wingman. They will lift each other up." Sergio isn't under that much pressure anymore. That makes the chance he gets over the finish line much greater. Well, that's true, but if the car is very unstable and wobbly and he wants to do too much, then he can still crash a lot. So Tanvir says Perez did very well in Racing Point. Yeah, he did. Christina says the question is how long they both will need to get used to F1 car again and we'll start having results. Yeah, well, one of the bonuses is that everybody needs to get used to that weird 2026 car. So in that sense, they only missed the last season of this set of regulations. So yeah, I think they'll be up to scratch soon, but I think those cars and the way of driving are a little bit like starting a new computer game, where the controls are different and where you need to anticipate on different things. I personally think that Max will thrive next season thanks to him being up to scratch with all the little gimmicks of the car quicker than others. But that's just a side note here. Gentili says, plenty of testing hours. They won't need that long to get up to speed again. Also, new regulations, so all drivers need to adapt. Yeah, that's what I just said. Hank says, Sergio won a race in a midfield car. An accomplishment to be proud of. Yep. And it gave him the job at Red Bull. Christina says, I have more faith in Audi than I have in the Cadillac, to be honest. Yeah. Me too. Cadillac with Jonathan Wheatley there and Audi backing them. Like Audi has been brilliant in a lot of different motorsports. So I don't think we're going to see Audi at the complete bottom, like P9 or something. Um, Tanvir says, I've been hearing way too many rumors about Horner is hired by Cadillac. Oh, I haven't heard that yet. Um, mm, 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 mm. And there's Ivan. Hello, Ivan. Yeah, Checo deserves a seat. I didn't support him in Force India since I hated this team, but he performed brilliantly. Um, and Gentili says, it wouldn't surprise me, Tanveer. Horner has a good track record as an experienced team boss. Yep. Okay. Now we're going to the pros of hiring Bottas. There are none. End of live stream. No, just kidding. What did I write down here? Also experience. He started also about 2013. Drove for Williams. Did a good job there. At the time, especially in the first year of the hybrid engines, Williams was having the benefit of that strong Mercedes engine. So a lot of Bottas' performances were thanks to that. But he did a good job for a couple of years. And then in 2016, at the end of 2016, Nico Rosberg said, I've got my championship now. I don't want to stay in this team with you know who. So I'm retiring. And Toto Wolff talked to Claire Williams and said, we want Bottas. And Claire Williams said, well, we're in financial problems, so why don't you give us the engines for a lot less money? And that happened. I've read earlier that the deal was about 17 million euros that was taken off the bill for the Mercedes engines for Williams for the 2017 season. Yeah. And then Bottas was teammate to Lewis Hamilton, and Bottas 1.0, Bottas 2.0, and Bottas 3.0 did a wonderful job qualifying. He had like a streak of 103 Q3 appearances. And he made it hard on Lewis a few times, especially at the start of the season. It was quite common for him to win like 2 races at the start of the season, and then he was the leader of the championship. And then Lewis Hamilton woke up, and he got into a rhythm, and then, yeah, he beat his ass. Although I make these funny race reviews sometimes, and it's unbelievable how lucky Lewis Hamilton was a few times with Bottas getting hampered by stuff. Like, I remember a race in Baku that was Bottas. It was just Bottas' race. He was much quicker all race long. And then in the last lap, he got a puncture. And Lewis Hamilton won. Yeah, so that's the experience of Valtteri Bottas. I already said earlier that all that experience didn't help the Stake F1 team and the Alfa Romeo team much further. But yeah, there are reasons for that as well. What else did I write down about Bottas? Yeah, he knows, just like Perez, what it's like to be in a top team. But he also knows what it's like to be in a complete shit team, because 2024, yeah, the Sauber team was nowhere, and yeah, he scored no points. He did get the better of Joe in qualifying, like he always does, but he didn't outscore Joe in his last season. Bottas wanted to stay with the stake F1 team until it became Audi. But Audi wanted a German driver, so they put in Nico Hulkenberg and then a rookie. And I have to say that Hulkenberg and Bortoleto are doing a hell of a job. So, yeah, that's pretty much all the cons I have. The pros I have for Valtteri Bottas. I don't know if you guys know any more. But let me see what the chat says. And it says Audi is an existing team while Cadillac is a startup. Audi is a first time F1 engine manufacturer while Cadillac uses Ferrari power. Well, that's true. And more than likely that Ferrari will produce a good engine, so Cadillac will benefit from that. Whereas Audi, we don't know what that engine's going to be like. So yeah, it's a good point, Hank. Lonely Cyclist says they both might feel they have something to prove, and to be fair, they both don't have a good track record with proving something. No, that's also true. Why is my phone ringing? When Bottas drove for Williams, it wasn't the back marker, it became later. No, that's what I said. In 2014, when the new engine, the new Mercedes engine was in the Williams, I think the Williams drivers were scoring podiums, and I think they might even finished P3 or P4 in the standings. Let me check. F1 standings 2014. That's drivers chat. Yeah. The Williams Mercedes team scored 320 points in 2014, and that was all due to that overpowering engine. So, okay. Gentili says, yeah, Bottas got a lot more mechanical failures at Mercedes compared to Lewis. True. And he had to take a lot more engine penalties in 2021. Tanvir says, yeah, Bortoleto is doing well since the last few races. Yep. And Ivan says, it depends on whether they need a worker or someone bright. Valtteri is not the second. He will do the job, but keep in mind, he played a mean trick to Lewis at the start of the Mexican GP in 2021. Let me see what that was. I do remember Bottas doing a bad qualifying in Russia so he could start P2 or P3 and then get the slipstream and pass them. And it worked. But I don't remember what Bottas did in Mexico 2021. Did he let Max pass? I don't remember. I do remember in 2021 where Bottas was setting the fastest lap, and then what do you call him? James Vowles told him to abort the fastest lap because Lewis needed that point. And then he said 2 purple sectors, and then he let the last one go. Just messing with Lewis. That was kind of fun. Yeah, if anybody has any more pros for any of the drivers, then let me know now. Um, I'm just going to make a poll as well. I like that. Um, I'm not going to tell you what the poll is. Yeah. Who? Ivan says in Mexico, Bottas started from P1, Lewis P2, but at the start he started moving across Lewis, letting Max to take the outline and outbrake both Mercedes. Oh yeah, I remember that pass. That was just brilliant by Max. And then Checo tried it in 2024 and he crashed into Leclerc. Okay, Samantha's pro Bottas. Ew. Perez can be funny too, you know. Um. Right. Okay, let's go to the cons. The cons of Sergio Perez are um, that he's a good driver, but he's not top notch. Um, he's a good midfield driver who can do the job, and that's it. He has been in trouble with teammates. I think he didn't get along with Jensen Button, or was that, Kevin Magnussen, or both of them? There was, I think, Jensen Button criticized one of those two drivers for being way too wild. Um, so Perez, I think he's mentally strong, but I don't know how he's going to cope with having the outright worst car whole season long. Um, because he had a hard time at Red Bull, but if things did work out at Red Bull, then he'd be right at the forefront, you know. Um. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he copes with being at a completely new and fresh um team with all the little amateur mistakes they're going to be making, because this will more than likely happen. You know, it's not like they're going to start and then they're going to finish P5 in the standings all of a sudden out of the 11 teams. I seriously doubt that's going to happen. Um, he's also not the youngest anymore. He's 35 years old, so it's more than likely his last contract. If he gets 2 years, then he'll be 37, and I think that's a good time for drivers to move along. So it's definitely not a choice for the long run to put Perez in that car. It's just, yeah, for the here and now to make the best out of that season. And I suppose it's not very often when a new team starts in F1 that they get two race winners and also two drivers who finished as runner up. That's quite uncommon for an F1 team that just starts. So in that sense, yeah, in that sense, I think he he's a good choice. But yeah, okay. Um, Yeah, I think Checo Perez can be a little wild with crashes. Like the crash with Carlos Sainz was completely unnecessary in Baku. That would have been a podium. And the what are other crashes? Yeah, he crashed in qualifying, and yeah, he's he's been in a lot of trouble with Red Bull when it comes to crashes. Um, yeah. Mm, Overall, just a lack of talent compared to the top-notch drivers on the grid. But super driver, but not the best. Um, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about Sergio Perez. And I can pretty much say the same thing about Bottas, except that Bottas doesn't bring a load of money with sponsors. So basically, Perez is already better. Um, Bottas is also 35. Um, Bottas is less prone to crashing. Um, and I don't remember him like having big riots and problems with teammates. So he's easy to get along with. Um, I think he's a little bit too tame, to be honest. Not feisty enough. Valtteri Bottas. Like, Max was 17, 18 years old, and he was already running circles around Bottas. I remember Max won the trophy for best overtake of the season, and he said, "Oh, that wasn't the best overtake. It was on Bottas." So that's amazing. How cheeky Max was to Bottas. Um, yeah, pretty much the same thing as Perez. I think they're pretty level, Bottas and Perez. So great racing drivers, a lot of talent, but not the top talent like Leclerc, Russell, Max, Piastri. So yeah. Um, Anybody else? Any cons for both drivers? Any more pros? Anything else you want to share? Because um, Hank says, yeah, maybe just not F1 anymore. It's 24 weekends all over the world and many back to backs. Yeah. Yeah, Samantha's talking about how Perez should maybe quit because he has 4 kids. And that's 4 kids that we know of, you know, because he might have one in Monaco, after he won in 2022. You never know. Um, Tanvir says, I mean, can't compare Perez and Bottas to Max, Lewis, Alonso, etc. No, you definitely can't. Gentile says, you can't expect any exceptional performance from them. They are both decent drivers. I think Perez crashes are mainly because of Red Bull unstable cars. Yeah, but I remember a few crashes in the pink cars as well, you know? And you couldn't blame them all on Ocon. So, um, like Perez does have a bit of a temper. And like in 2021, Perez crashed in Jeddah. Um, yeah, that wasn't a good look either. So, um, now let me see if there's any news. Got the article here from the race. Scott Mitchell Malm says that it's important to know how far off the car is compared to the rest of the grid. And by having two experienced drivers, you know exactly that it's not because they're junior drivers who don't know how to deal with Formula One yet. Which that makes kind of sense. Like with these two experienced drivers, the risk of not getting the 100%, 107% qualifying time is a lot smaller, and yeah, they're two solid drivers with a good head on them, a lot of experience. So, in that sense, you know, it's a good signing if they both get hired. Then Gary Anderson from Northern Ireland. Cadillac needs to find its young star. So he doesn't agree with the signing of two oldies. He says that it should be an experienced driver and an up and coming hotshot. That would be the right mix. Cadillac needs to invest a year or two in finding a driver that will bring results once the team has got on top of things. With the best will in the world, for those 2 seasons, just getting the odd point on the scoreboard will be a miracle. So basically, he's saying if you put one of those young hotshots in now, they have time to grow with the team until they get over all the first hurdles. Whereas if you have two old drivers, put them in for 2 years, and then in 2028, you put two completely new drivers in there, and they need to be brought up to scratch. So that I see what Gary Anderson is saying here. Ben Anderson, he says it's the right choice for Cadillac because of the experience and all the stuff they need to learn. And he says that Bottas and Perez are the best to learn with. Okay. Then there's a guy called Matt Beer. Cool name, if you like beer. He says, are these definitely a safe pair of hands? Let me see what he says. He also says that it should be one veteran and a more younger one. He's not sure that those two drivers will deliver. And then there's Ed Straw, the big man. He doesn't have a headline. Yeah, he's also agreeing with them. He uses a lot of words. Oh, and there's a guy called Sam Smith, and he says risk taking is sorely lacking in modern F1. So he would have preferred if Cadillac had taken more risks. And who else? Glenn Freeman. It's not Cadillac's job to pick an exciting lineup. No, they have to choose something that they think will work. Okay. And a guy called Jack Benyon says that it's necessarily underwhelming. don't know all the other people. Yeah, John Noble says that it's very pragmatic to hire 2 older guys. Yeah, that's all the opinions of the race drivers, writers. Let me see. Let me finish this poll first. %66% thinks that Perez will beat Bottas. I agree. I'm just reading all the ones that I want to read out. Okay. Okay. So, guys, if you don't agree with the Perez Bottas lineup, who would you replace and who with? Just write it down in the chat. I've already said that my choice would have been Perez and Joe because of the connections that Joe has with the team boss, with the Chinese money and sponsors that he will bring, and then combined with Perez and all the money and all the sponsors for 2 years, getting all that money in, getting all that foundation build up, and then put better drivers in. The Lonely Cyclist says Bottas for Palou. But is Palou still interested in Formula One? Because didn't he win IndyCar for the 4th time in a row? Ivan says, and I do think 2 experienced drivers is a better option. They can hire someone young later when they find the groove. Yeah, that makes sense. Ivan says, at some point, I thought of Perez and Ricciardo lineup, but who knows? Yeah, Ricciardo's name keeps popping up, but he's done. He's like, done. Yeah, Lonely Cyclist, you're right. I asked what you wanted, and you gave me a name, and then I didn't dismiss your answer. It was more like, hey, I was going a step further whether it would be possible or not. Like I know that Joe or Mick Schumacher or Drogovic, they're dying to get into Formula One again. So those are real options. But yeah, I hear the name Alex Dunn a lot as well, and Jack Crawford. They're both Formula 2 drivers. Christina says, I would also give a chance to F2 driver. Fornaroli is great this year and without an F1 seat. Well, if he doesn't win the championship, then he'll probably be in Formula 2 again next season, which is good. We might have a Dutch Formula 2 winner because Richard Verschoor, after 12 years in F2, no, not that long, but quite long, he might win the championship. So, yeah, I think I'm through my content. I haven't got anything planned for videos this week. If something comes up, then I'll conjure something up. I did make a post with my Zandvoort vlog. So for the people that haven't seen my Zandvoort vlog, please watch it because I put a lot of effort in that last year. It was a lot of fun, and I'm trying to make a day, like a Saturday vlog and a Sunday vlog for the race next weekend, for the race weekend. Um, just me filming myself being at the track and yeah, seeing what happens. Um, I saw Law VS doing that, and it looked like a lot of fun. How Law VS did that. It was more about food and the vibe at the track than actual racing. And yeah, I love food, so I can do that as well. So yeah, if there's no more questions or any more topics, then I might pack it in a couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. Did you guys notice the changes I made to my format in the videos? Like the 3 seconds to leave a like is more towards the end of the video, and the little chapters I make in the video are small and silent, so the video runs smoother. Now I can't say that it's doing anything for my views because that's still a struggle, but that's probably because it's holiday time. Oh, Christina, I didn't know Fornaroli was leading the championship. I don't follow F2. I wanna, but I'm afraid that I might like it, and then yeah, I won't have time for anything else. The team boss of Ferrari made a lot of noise about his pupil being unattached to any academy. Yeah, so he probably has rich parents then that pay for everything. Um, Ivan, you say it's off topic. No, I asked. But I actually like both your old and current video formats. Yeah. Now, like what I was hoping to achieve is that the videos are more smooth, so more people will watch it from the start to the end without any interruptions. But yeah, um, my videos about Aston Martin always seem to struggle on my channel. So that video has like 260 views or something, and it's on for 2 days already. And then the one before that was about the Cadillac lineup. That was also hard. And the one before that was another one about Christian Horner and Jonathan Wheatley. And yeah, it's okay. Like in September, I'm pretty sure my numbers will go up again. So on that note, I'm going to bid you all farewell. Um, yeah, everybody have a lovely race week, and keep an eye out on TV. You might see me in the audience, in the crowd. I'll be wearing an orange shirt, so that might help. And yeah, thank you all for joining, and I'll see you all the next time. Take care now. Doei doei.